Okay.
Welcome to our today's webinar about the PDF Compressor Enterprise, optimal compression and conversion of both scanned and digital-born documents to PDF and PDFA. Welcome at LuraTech. My name is Carsten Heiermann. I'm the Managing Director here, and with me today is Armin Ortmann. Armin, would you mind to introduce yourself?
No, not at all. My name is Armin Ortmann. I'm the CTO and therefore the Director of Engineering at LuraTech.
Yeah, we will split today's different parts of the presentation between us. Armin will do probably more of the live demonstration, and I'll, as Managing Directors do, will do the PowerPoint presentation part. But before we actually start, there are some more technical hints, as usual, some may say, who listen to other webinars of ours. The webinar will last for 45 minutes today, so we will do our very best to stay in time so that there are no conflicts with your following meetings and such. In case you have any questions during the presentation, please really make sure to ask them immediately using the questions field of your GoToWebinar user interface. You'll find a section there with the caption mentioned questions. There you can type in all your questions you have, and we will try to answer those questions even verbally in a, let's say, Q&A part, question and answers part after the presentation between Armin and me. And we reserved something like 5 to 10 minutes for that in the end of today's webinar so that you get answered all your questions. In case there are too many questions and we can't answer them all in the foreseeable time, we will at least answer any question in writing after the webinar for sure. So just make sure to interact with us, send in your questions. At the end of the presentation, when you leave the GoToWebinar software, you'll see a questionnaire popping up. And we would be very glad if you could be so kind to answer today's 4 questions in there to help us further improve our webinars. In this questionnaire, you also have the last opportunity in writing to ask additional questions, which we are in that case, of course, going to answer later in writing. Of course, anyway, anytime you can talk to your LuraTech contacts that you know, or to your respective LuraTech partners about the product, the technology, how to get a demo version, or any of today's webinar's contents, obviously. We have a large number of listeners here today. We're really happy about that. We have almost equally spread between long years users with a lot of experience and also people who are quite new to the technology and to the product. But I think we'll have good information for all of you. And although this is today a more fundamental information seminar about the PDF compressor-based functionalities, let's say, we'll also address some what we might name constant mysteries around the PDF compressor that we see regularly as support questions in our support team, and we will also deliver some interesting, let's say, how-tos for certain use cases that should also be interesting for our long-term users, I think. So let's start the webinar about the PDF Compressor Enterprise, optimal compression and conversion of both scanned and digital-born documents to PDF and PDFA. Armin, first slide, please. Did you show the first slide?
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Today's agenda, as I already outlined a little bit, we'll start with introducing the PDF compressor's concepts real quick. After that, we go in a 2-step PowerPoint and demo pair, demonstration part, go through the input format that the PDF compressor can work with. We go through the processing modes that the PDF compressor have, and also 2 feature sets. Armin created a nice table to give you an overview there, and we'll have 2 parts of software demonstration. In the end of the presentation part of the webinar, we'll also give you an outlook on what's next. The current version of PDF compressor is version 5.7, and we will have, as some of you might already know, a major update towards PDF Compressor 6.0, which is a real big new release with new technology behind and beyond the 5.7 technology. So we'll give you an outlook to that. It starts with a beta phase in December for those who might be interested in joining us there. And afterwards, we also introduce what we will do about the new upcoming part of the ISO standard PDFA, which is PDFA 2. And then in the end, we really encourage you send in your questions so that we have a nice and interesting question and answer session in the end. Okay, next slide, please. In order to stay in time, we have to hurry up a little bit today, but we should give you all the information that is relevant. What is the PDF compressor all about? Just to recap the basic idea of the PDF compressor. It is a solution that is meant to do unattended processing, batch-wise, mass-wise, on a server, let's say, or on a computer that is used as a processing station without user interaction, stuff like that. So it's a very scalable solution. It can be used for your, I don't know, construction documentation parts where you just have these 5,000 drawings or whatever, but it can also be used in the same technology as it's very scalable for your, I don't know what, 100 million a month, 100 million pages a month project. It's really widespread scalable. It can run different jobs simultaneously, so you can set up as a scan service provider, for example, several different customer jobs with all individual parameter sets, and you can process all those jobs in parallel. It is, of course, multi-core enabled, and it is even possible to let run several PDF compressors on one job, so that is really scalable. The PDF compressor is no longer just about the PDF compression, in other words, to read scanned documents and output high compressed PDF files from that scanned documents, but it can also work with born digital files. Born digital means files that are created in the first step already digital, character encoded and whatever, and you see as one example in that schema here, for example, the Microsoft Word logo, so that could be the MS Office files, or some PDFs are born digital files, and we can read them as input formats today, where we could take a closer look on. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a complete overview, let's say, of input formats that PDF Compressor Enterprise version can really work with. First of all, we have the group of let's say image formats. That's raster graphics, bitmaps, pixel maps. That's potentially most of that sources are from scanners, let's say scanned documents, whatever. And it can be TIFFs of all kinds. It can be JPEGs, it can be JPEG 2000s, bitmaps, PNM files, all this kind of graphic formats. It can also be GIF and PNG, but we put that in brackets here. You'll see that in a while because we treat them differently as the other scan formats, let's say. We can process PDFs. We can process today as input formats not only PDFs including raster images. Again, this is something like the group of images just wrapped in a PDF container, scan pages again and stuff like that, but we can also convert, as I said, born digital content, typeset text with vector graphics, transparencies, and all this kind of stuff that occurs in originally born digital documents. Or digital PDFs in that case. We can also produce, since quite a while now already, fully born digital files in their original source formats, and that can be Microsoft Word files, Excel files, PowerPoint, and even the more special file formats like Project and Visio. We can process them separately as in their original file format, or even as attachments to Outlook or Microsoft Exchange emails. These attachments, we can process emails with attachments. These attachments can even be zipped and whatnot, so that's a wide variety of format that can be processed from their source formats towards PDFA. More and more people also make use of OpenOffice with their specific file formats. You see them here. We can also process web pages to be converted to PDFA. We can process, of course, plain text to be processed to PDFA. So that's a wide variety that the PDF compressor today is able to handle. Next slide, please. And here we have an overview of that file formats and some features and some versions, options, parts of the PDF compressor that Armin will give us an overview about now.
Yes, I will take over here and I will pick up with the last slide. The classes of input that Carsten referred to are listed here. But first of all, let me mention the different major processing modes of PDF compressor. If you are familiar with the software at all, you may have come across these terms: MRC compression, PDF optimization. Those are, the blue colored ones are in the standard range of functionality of PDF compressor. That's what you always get if you buy one PDF compressor license. The green shaded things here are the Born Digital conversion option. That is an optional extra license for converting the especially the Born Digital content. And the gray shaded entries here, digital signature and form recognition, are really also extra options, and we won't talk about them in these webinars. They are really special topics, and we will dedicate possibly other webinars to it, or for forms recognition we already did webinars. So you have these different modes of operation, and you have these basic classes of input files to convert to PDF or PDFA. And you immediately see that most of the raster image content, the scans, for example, should be or can only be processed with MRC compression. We have this split here explained in the footnotes. GIF and PNG files are converted with the Born Digital option. That has some technical reasons, but everything else, bitmaps, JPEGs, TIFFs, are converted using MRC compression. So concerning these files, there is really a clear association of that input with the MRC compression mode. For PDF, you have more options, and we'll get to that in more detail soon. PDFs can basically be consumed and converted in all three of these major modes. Okay? And then you have the real Born Digital content, and again, that is only to be converted with the Born Digital conversion option. So MRC compression really won't do anything about them, and neither will PDF optimization. And then within these major modes, you have certain features that you can use. And here the picture becomes a little more complex. Compression, which is really the original core functionality of PDF compressor, hence the name, is only applicable in MRC compression and PDF optimization modes. This should be shaded white, actually. So Born Digital conversion is not at all about compression. That's worth noting. It may create smaller files by converting them to PDF. It may create larger files. Compression is really not the objective for this mode. Then PDFA output. Again, you can choose to convert not to PDF but to PDFA in all three of these major modes. We have a few restrictions in the PDF optimization. We'll also talk about that in a while, and that's also worth noting. But this really is a topic that we will get to. You can consume PDF in all three modes. You can create PDFA in all three modes. As a consequence, all three of these major modes can be used and are useful to convert PDF input to PDFA. Then we have OCR, text recognition. Again, that's only applicable with compression and optimization modes. In fact, if you have proper Born Digital content, you shouldn't need to apply OCR because the full text content is preserved, and therefore OCR would only be a distortion or distraction. Barcode recognition can only be performed in MRC compression mode. And then you have two further features that we would like to explain at least a bit in this webinar, which is the splitting of input files, i.e. if you have multi-page input files, you can split them up into smaller portions. You can, for example, specify create one-page, single-page PDF output files only, or create output files containing 10 pages each. or you can split upon detecting certain barcodes. We will explain that in a second. And you can also merge input files, and the merging occurs on the level of input folders. That is, you merge all the input files encountered in a single folder. If the folder has a subfolder and the subfolder in turn contains files, these are merged separately into a document pertaining to that subfolder. And the order of the merging is really the lexicographical sort order in the folder, i.e. A to Z and 0 to 9. And actually these two options can be combined. So you can first of all concatenate all the documents that you have with the merge option, and then in the same pass you can split that long string of pages again into smaller portions, say of 10 pages each. So that's worth noting, and actually some of the examples I will show later on have been created from other documents using the split and merge functionalities of PDF Compressor. Having said that, let's just quickly have a glance at the PDF Compressor itself and see where these options are located and how to use them. So hopefully you are at least a bit familiar with this user interface of the PDF Compressor. You have these individual entries which can have different options associated each, and by double clicking on such an entry I can see the properties for that job, as we call it. And here under mode you see the major processing modes: MRC compression, PDF optimization, PDFA conversion, and also digital signatures, which are not a topic here. And already on this first mode page you see further features such as OCR. You see OCR here with the PDF optimization as well. Okay, and you see the barcode detection here under MRC compression only. Actually, the options that you get to see clicking this button here for OCR are the same for MRC compression and PDF optimization. So you have quite a string of options here. You have a set of languages that you choose from. So further languages are available upon request from LuraTech. I think up to 180 languages are supported. These support better OCR quality by using dictionaries of words and notions common to the certain languages. Okay, you have quite a list of additional output formats. So the OCR result can not only be embedded in the PDFs created, but can also be written to separate files of various formats. You have text types. You have further options such as desqueuing. One thing worth mentioning is you can suppress OCR on pages larger than certain dimensions, which is quite useful if, for example, you have plans or maps interspersed with your material. On such materials such as maps, the OCR usually takes very long and delivers only poor results. Therefore, it's often useful to exclude that from the OCR. Concerning PDFA, we'll have to move to the end of these tabs. Here under encoder, you have this block of options. You already see shaded here stuff that we have prepared for PDFA 2. These are the options here for regular PDF, adhering to various levels of the regular PDF standard. And here you have PDFA. Actually, you have the two flavors of A1A and A1B. I don't want to explain the distinctions here. The thing worth noticing or remembering is that usually you want to have PDFA 1B. That's really what is meant when people talk about PDFA. A1A is really a special format, only useful under certain circumstances. Okay, and some of the other things I'll quickly point out. The merge option is here under input. Merge all pages of a folder into a single PDF document. That is really the merging option. And the splitting options are found under output. Here under output options advanced, you have output splitting into chunks of a certain number of pages. You have grayed out here because I didn't select barcode recognition under mode. So if I select barcode recognition, this here becomes active. There you can split the output whenever a barcode is detected. And you can directly search for certain barcodes. Well, let's quickly move to that. You can search for certain barcode types here. You can restrict the area where the barcode is to be found. You can enter a regular expression restricting what barcode values you are looking for, and you can exclude the page bearing the barcode once you have detected a barcode. That's especially useful if you're using patch pages to separate your actual scan pages. Okay, and then under output you have the option to split the document whenever a new barcode is detected. So you have quite a few options concerning barcodes also. Okay, that should be it for the first part of the demonstration. Carsten will return to the slides.
You're over your time anyway.
You started me late.
Right. Yeah, the next slide is a slide that should give you a hint. If you're a scan service provider and your customer says, I want to have PDFA as a file format, okay, then it's defined. But in many cases, if you are the customer who has to decide, it's an open question. Should I go for PDF output or PDFA output? This slide should give you some hints. The PDFA, A for archiving standard, is of course designed for a specific use case. Whenever you need to store your files and maintain them to appear visually identically to the moment when you archive them in any future, whenever you have these requirements, long-term archiving requirements, PDFA is obviously a good choice. But PDFA is the more restrictive format. Let's say there are certain things allowed or standard options in PDF that are not at all suitable, not at all good for putting them in a long-term archive. Let me give you an example. PDFs are constructed in many cases in a way that they say at a specific part of a page, let's say an image is displayed. The PDF file in itself says, if I am on a screen, 72 dpi standard monitor or something like that, please use the graphic there on the lower left side in the PDF file and put it here. And if I am on a 600 dpi super printer, then please use the other file on the right side, bottom right side in the PDF file and display it here. Now when you do long-term archiving, when you think now you're in year 2050, both 72 dpi screens and 600 dpi printers do no longer exist, what will you see? It's unpredictable, and that is just a very poor example probably, but it is an example for there are features in PDF that can't be put into files for long-term archiving. And PDFA now says, no, don't use that kind of dynamic content, don't use this and this and this options because they are not suitable for long-term archiving. It explains how to use PDF in a secure way. These restrictions, obviously, limit the ability of converting PDF files into PDFA in some cases, where a source file, for example, has some content that you need to convert in a PDFA file, and the content is forbidden in PDFA. You have to find solutions. Sometimes software can find solutions. Sometimes software can't find solutions for that. So if you have needs that go beyond the restrictive PDFA definition, sometimes you might need to use PDF, let's say, or change your content, or let your software change or adapt the content. This is important when we go through the different ways on how we treat PDF files in the PDF compressor, because in one case you'll see that we only convert from PDF to PDFA files, it's called the optimization modes, when we have a PDF file that can be converted into PDFA without changes. We'll see that in a minute. But at least this gives you a hint. PDFA is naturally the good thing when you work in archiving and all these related topics, as long as possible. PDFA2, by the way, will come with less restrictions. So there are some restrictions that we had in PDFA1, in the PDFA part, the only one that we have now available that were so restrictive that they were dropped in PDFA2. I think we'll have another webinar on PDFA2, and we also had some presentations on the last trade shows and the Rome PDFA conference. If you're interested in that PDFA topic, send us an email or something, and we'll give you some material and presentations to tell you all the difference between PDFA1 and PDFA2. By the way, also ask your question. This is your webinar, so we haven't received too many questions so far from the audience. I just once more want to encourage you, type in your questions. We'll pick them up and answer them in a dialogue in the end, so that you really get your information that you're interested in. Okay, Armin, next slide, please. Yeah. Now, there are different modes now how we can treat PDF to PDFA conversion, and as this is a constant mystery on how PDFs should be converted, with which mode should be converted to PDFA, we thought we'd pick it up here in this basic webinar and kind of look behind the scenes and understand really what the different modes, MRC compression mode does from this PDF to PDFA compression, what the PDF optimization mode does when we use PDF to PDFA conversion, and obviously what the born digital conversion does when we do PDF to PDFA conversions. And what the differences are, I think Armin will show us now, right?
Right. We'll get to the differences. And again, I'll switch here. This I will demonstrate not really within the PDF compressor software, but within a few versions of one and the same document, which I have actually prepared. I just don't want to click through all of the options and probably get lost along the way in the short time that we have here. Therefore, I prepared everything. What I basically prepared is this document, which contains 4 pages. One of them, the first page, really is born digital. I typed it myself in Word and saved it to PDF. And what you can see is that I can zoom in here quite a bit, and it remains smooth because it's really typeset font that becomes rendered and it's not restricted to some raster. If we go to this page here, for example, let me zoom to the proper region, you see the blocks, the pixels of the raster if I zoom in far enough, because it's a scanned image. It's really just a raster image. It doesn't contain any text information, nothing here that I can select. And the 2 other pages are pretty much of a similar nature. This one is a black and white scan, and this one is a black and white scan, excuse me. This one is a grayscale scan. Okay, so what happens if I run this PDF document through PDF Compressor with the intention of creating a PDFA file? Well, first of all, I need to mention that I'm showing you not only PDFA files, but also regular PDF files here. You see the distinction here in the names of the files. That is because PDFA forbids these layer switches, which are quite illustrative in showing what actually happens. So this is the example for the MRC compression, and really the content in terms of these layers is not so much different in the PDFA files, but the PDFA mode prohibits using these switches to avoid ambiguity as to how the document is rendered. That's really all that there is to it. And if I now zoom into this document, which has been run through MRC compression, you see that the text is no longer as smooth. You definitely see the pixel borders here, and that is due to the fact, and that's really the memorable thing here, MRC compression turns everything into a raster image. Every single page is, the MRC compression tries to turn into a raster image and then process with this MRC layering algorithm, which can be, the effects of which can be seen here on the second page. Let me zoom out a bit. This is a classical example of the effects of MRC compression. So I can hide the background layer, and then you only see the text anymore, and I can also suppress the text coloring, so the initial letters here become black instead of red. If you see additional compression artifacts such as patches of gray and white and everything, we must really state that this is due to the GoToWebinar software, which in turn uses image compression to transfer the image to you. So if you want real-world examples of how your files would look, we certainly encourage you to send us a few examples or to obtain a demo version. Okay, so this is the effect of MRC compression. Really, everything becomes a raster image and everything is then attempted to compress, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can also use this to really compress complicated content. Basically, if it's possible to create a raster image from it, this can be used to convert PDF input to PDFA, which is kind of the last resort of PDF conversion. And you can use a quality setting that really creates lossless output at that point. So you don't necessarily lose anything through the MRC compression, but then again, if you use lossless as a compression mode, you probably won't gain much in size either. Let's have a look at the effects of PDF optimization. Again, the same document, the same 4 pages. Again, you see I do have some layer switches here, but on the first page, these layer switches just don't do anything. Let me do it a bit slower. You see nothing changes, because the first page, the real Born Digital content, it retains its crisp appearance, the sharp edges, because it remains the way it was. It remains Born Digital content. It remains typeset text with font information and everything. But on the subsequent pages, the MRC compression really did happen. So the algorithm used here for PDF optimization detects whether there is a large enough image present on the page, then takes specifically this image, and of course in the case of these scanned pages that's the whole page, and runs the MRC compression on it. Okay? That's the effect of PDF optimization. Born Digital content remains Born Digital. Large images are submitted to MRC compression. And again, here you can use the so-called photo mode, and you can use a high quality and convert these images in a way that their quality remains or is preserved. And also you have the option here to run OCR to embed hidden text solely on the pages where the MRC compression is performed. So you have quite an intelligent algorithm here trying to combine the best of both worlds, so to speak. And the Born Digital conversion, you actually see here, this example, it didn't change the file size much, because what it really does is it takes everything at face value. It really uses the most straightforward way to move something from PDF to PDFA, and it does not attempt any compression. It does not embed any OCR results. You see that when I select here, and you don't see any layer switches because no layers were created, no compression was performed. That's basically, in a nutshell, the differences of these 3 modes of converting a PDF to PDFA. Carsten, did I forget anything? Anything else worth mentioning at this point?
If you did so, I think the next slide has a summary. We'll probably put it in the summary then.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's once more a summary of the 3 modes. MRC compression, as Armin outlined, is mostly used for scanned input file formats. Of course, it can be the last resort to convert really difficult files to PDFA, though. But it is mostly done for compressing, OCRing, doing all the more scanned documents oriented things like barcode processing and whatnot. and output to PDFA. So the PDF optimization mode is designed, as Armin outlined, to convert PDFs, to optimize existing PDF files where the born digital content stays as it is, and all the large images are compressed inside and can also be OCR'd. In addition, let's say, as additional features, if there is no change needed to output that input PDF files to a PDFA file, then if there's no change needed, if there's no, let's say, transparency or anything else in the source PDF file, we can also output it to PDFA file to a PDFA file there. But the most, let's say, the main feature of this is to compress mixed born digital and image existing PDF files. The born digital conversion is not about compression at all. It doesn't really compress the files at all. It doesn't do OCR and all these other things, but what it does is it converts not only PDFs but also other born digital formats into PDFA, and in this mode we are also able to do some simple replacements, like when there is a transparency, which means there's an image and let's say some text that go above each other, and you can look through it, let's say, to still see the text below the image, for example. This is transparency, not allowed in PDFA, but that can be flattened, as we say. In other words, it can be processed into a standing image, and that image can be embedded. That's something that the born digital conversion very well can do, while the PDF optimization mode doesn't do any changes. That said, if you are looking for pure PDF to PDFA conversion, the born digital conversion might be the right thing, and the PDF optimization, of course, then has a limited set of features that it can successfully convert into PDFA. No wonder it's designed for something else, compressing mixed mode documents, let's say. Okay, next slide, please. Now, in the very beginning, I said this is a real scalable product, starting from it can be used with very small, let's say, installations in numbers of pages or something. It can be used with very, very, very big continuous flow of pages in hundreds of millions pages range. And in order to also cope with that, we have a set of different license models. You always get an installation of the PDF Compressor Enterprise, no matter in which license model you really license it. But you have the choice to use it, for example, as a so-called server license. And the server license says, and that's the standard license that we normally sell, that most of our customers take, the server license model says there is no page counter, there is no volume something limitation or something like that. It scales by the number of CPU cores that you really want to use. For, let's say, a very rough number, if you do up to 10 million pages a year, you might be good to use one CPU core. If you do even more, you might need to scale up your installation to make use of more hardware below the PDF compressor. Let's put it that way. But it doesn't have any page counter or anything else. So it's our unlimited model. And our model that's our top seller. But there are, of course, ongoing projects, let's say standard mid-sized companies' invoices that come in every month should be converted to PDF or PDFA or compressed or whatever we saw today. And this is no more than 50,000 invoices a year. But it is 50,000 invoices every year. Then you can have a limited version below, let's say, the server license model, and we call that advanced. That advanced license model gives you pages per year, and it can be done from 50,000 pages a year all the way up to 500,000 pages a year. If you need more pages per year, then just take the server. Now, for those of you who are in, let's say, companies or in scan service bureaus doing those kind of document conversion projects, you'll immediately see that there is still a question open, and that is, what do I do with my peak loads? What do I do with my backlog processing? Or what do I do when I just have to do this one-time conversion with the paper archive deep down in my cellar? That's the PDF Compressor basic license model designed for you. license an absolute number of pages that you just need for this specific projects. It can be all the way from 20,000 pages up to 100 million pages for one-time consumptions. The good thing about PDF Compressor basic license model is it uses all CPU cores that a computer will have. And there are computers with 16 CPU cores today available at reasonable prices. So it's a very fast processing machine that is able to convert your given number of pages in a very short time to do this peak load processes at scan service companies or whatever, or your backlog processing or whatever you have in your company. So these three license models together, I think, answer every potential scenario that might occur in real-world projects out there. So it's not only scalable, it's also flexible from a licensing perspective. Next slide, please. Yeah, as promised, 5.7 is the current version. We have this major release 6.0 upcoming, and the 6.0 version has a specific characteristic, let's say. What we know from our customers and what we see in the market, and also what you might really experience in your everyday business, is that the projects that have PDF or PDFA file formats as output around document conversion are growing substantially at these days. So when we had projects with 500,000 pages, we now have projects with 5 million pages, and so on and so forth. So PDF Compressor 6.0 is really mostly designed to keep track with the ever-increasing load. Therefore, we did several things. One thing is we dropped the good old text-based, ASCII-based log file that some of you really might know, and replaced that for PDF Compressor 6.0 with an SQL or ODBC database below the PDF compressor. The PDF Compressor 6.0 then allows parallel use of many computers in a local area network, doing the processing with all their CPU cores potentially below just one PDF compressor. So it's not only possible to use all CPU cores in a single computer, but it's possible to use with one PDF compressor installation several computers even to do the really massive parallel document conversion, compression, OCRs, and all these kind of computational time-critical processes. This goes, again, in the direction of growing projects, but there are also some other things possible. Doing so, we can now, yeah, a little wonder about that, but we can now pause jobs, stop and restart without really stopping them, just putting them on hold for a while. We can restart or recreate from old existing already completed jobs and create new jobs from them. These things together with the database support go in the direction of making it even more transaction secure what the processing for the processing. The PDF compressor, as I said, ever-growing throughput plus transaction security is the two main things that we address with 6.0, and it's a real big new release. So when you're interested in taking a look at that, closer look at that, you can easily do it by going to our website and registering as a candidate for the beta phase starting on December 15 around that time. It will be 2 months long, and after that we will have the release of 6.0. The beta phase doesn't have any obligations just to work with us and interact with us regarding the beta version, and we have to make choices and pick some from the list of candidates. But register, you webinar listeners might be preferred partners for us for the beta phase. Yeah, another thing that's coming up and that is in everybody's mouth today is PDFA 2, the new part of the PDFA standard. To make it real, not too complex and too long, the PDF compressor is already PDFA 2 ready. We showed it in the PDFA conference in Rome. We showed it on the DMS Expo show in Germany the last week, what we already can do with PDFA. We also ran it against the alpha and beta versions of all the PDFA 2 ready validators of the other PDFA companies, and it will be released whenever the ISO committee publishes finally and makes official finally the PDFA2 standard part. And then we will have a special release in whatever version is current at that point. Is it the 5.7, is it 6.0 or 6.1? At the moment we have PDFA2. We're totally able to deliver it almost virtually the same day, a PDFA2 ready version. Okay, next slide please. Yeah, another thing, we ask you to really take a look at the demo version, to really take a look at the PDF compressor if you're not yet familiar with it, and see that everything we told you today is true and that the PDF compressor is a real good tool. You might get your demo version by just sending an email to support@LuraTech.com as written here, but you can of course also send an email or call your known LuraTech contact or your LuraTech partner who takes care of you to get your demo version, and also probably get background material like a recording of this webinar, like the PowerPoint slide of this webinar, or PDFA2 material, or whatever you're interested in. Just interact with us. We're here to help you forward. Yeah, I think that's the end of our PowerPoint slide presentation. And we should now really hurry up as the time runs fast to go in our question and answers session. Probably the official presentation part of the webinar also ends here, but we will go through questions, and you can even still send questions in if you like. We'll go through some questions that we have from our audience today. And probably I just read some of them, Armin, and you start answering them. What do you think?
Sure, of course.
Okay, so one question that we haven't really addressed in this webinar, because we might have already addressed it in other webinars, is going again in the direction of our MRC compression. And the question is, what compression ratios does the MRC compression deliver for scanned documents? Can you say something about that?
Yes, I know that there is this technical answer and the more sales-oriented answer. The technical answer, the real, almost scientific answer would of course be, well, it really depends on the complexity of your content. But I think the sales answer is that we usually aim and we usually reach that goal at about the file size for a full color PDF document that you would normally have if you scan your documents in black and white and compress them with the good old TIFF Fax G4. Okay, effectively, as you see with the examples we have here, effectively we have the input file, which is already compressed to some degree, because the one full color 300 dpi scan page we have in here, without compression, this page alone would take 25 megabytes. That's really worth noticing. So getting these 4 pages down to less than 5 megabytes already involves some compression. But really with MRC compression, and that's really the output size and the quality that we recommend, you get this document down to 150 kilobytes. So you come in for a color document with quite some detail, you come in at less than 40 kilobytes per page. So in general, if it's not really colorful, really high resolution material that you have, you should always be below 100 kilobyte for a full color page, and usually below 20 kilobyte for a mere black and white text page. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sales does it a little bit shorter. Sales says there's a rule of thumb. Your black and white documents will be half the size almost compared to the black and white TIFF Group 4 of the same document. Your color files will be as almost the same file size as the TIFF Group 4 of the same document would be. So really, really, really big compression ratios that we achieve there for our MRC layered compression, let's say. Let's turn to the next question here, which is also an interesting one. We left it out a little bit here, but maybe you can give that a short answer. What languages are supported by our OCR, and what barcode types are supported?
Okay. As a standard, we ship with the size with the set of OCR languages you see here. which is English, French, German, and various spelling types, and Spanish. This MICR is a special type designed for being recognized with OCR. We do have a list of about 180 supported languages. I think that is more or less the complete universe of languages that use some kind of Latin or Cyrillic character set for their standard writing. So there's really stuff such as Albanian and Icelandic and Turkmenian and whatever is in there. Quite a few languages that I would really have to look up to figure out where they are spoken or written. In addition, yes?
Yeah, I'll say, sorry, before you turn to the barcodes here, I want to read out another question that just came in that says, what output formats do we support for OCR results? That's the page here, so I wanted to interrupt you.
Okay, let me just continue with what I was just about to say. We do have a special option, that's again an additional option for PDF Compressor, to recognize CJK characters. That's Korean, Japanese, and Chinese, Korean, and Japanese characters. So the Asian languages require a special mode of the OCR engine, but we are able to recognize these with PDF Compressor and create proper hidden text with Asian character information as well. So if that's a concern for you, that's also supported. We also have options for recognizing handwriting, and we have an option for recognizing Gothic script. But again, that's not in the standard range of PDF Compressor. That would be a special option. Concerning the output formats, that's really the list that you can see here. So you can export plain text, you can export comma-separated values, which are suitable for exporting them, say, in Excel. You can export a rich text format where at least a portion of the layout is preserved. The same goes for HTML. You can export to Microsoft Excel, which is, of course, probably most suitable if you have table contents in the first place. You can export to the Microsoft PowerPoint format, and you have 4 different options, basically levels of detail, let's put it like that, of XML result. So you have, for example, word level, or you have this full level where really information such as the OCR confidence value and the exact locations of a character on a page are also exported in this XML result. If you don't really require that level of detail, you may stick to the word level, or even more coarsely the plain word level, where still a strongly structured and schema compliant XML version is created for every single page.
Okay. Yeah, I interrupted you. Sorry for that. But don't forget about the barcode types we support.
Yeah. But that's a different dialogue. It's here.
Sure.
And it's really, this is the standard range. I think it's more or less a complete list of all the common one-dimensional barcodes. You have, as we had in the example, let me pull that up quickly, you nowadays have additional barcode types, so-called 2D barcodes, such as this one here. You see, this barcode basically has one reading direction, and that's all there is to it. But this barcode really is a matrix of dots, and therefore requires more recognition functionality. That's also available as an additional option. It's not in the standard range of PDF Compressor, and it's therefore not auto-detected if you select this option here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're close to completing 1 hour here. So the webinar officially has ended, of course, but we go on because we have one a really interesting question that I want to ask you that is around the integration options. So what integration options in DMS, document management systems, or capture tools, or J2EE environments does the PDF compressor deliver? Armin, can you give us like a 3-minute idea about what integration scenarios we have? Because then we reach the 1 hour and we should really stop the webinar.
Yes, there is basically 2 levels. There is one very simple level of automatically integrating with another software environment or framework, which is this option here. It's the so-called watched folder or hot folder options. Basically, for every job here, you can specify an input folder, and you can specify a time interval at which this folder is being checked. So if an upstream software, for example, a scan software or an MFP scanner, just outputs its output to this directory, PDF Compressor will look out for that and automatically pick it up and can transport it then to another output directory. That's basically the most simple level of interfacing and completely automating PDF Compressor.
It's automated, but it's, let's say, asynchronous. So the process is not process aware, right?
Right. You don't really get...
We'll see the process aware or synchronous automation.
Yeah.
We see basically, that now, right?
Basically, with this mode, you really get the result once it's there, but that you don't really know, for example, which, if for example, many documents occur in this input folder in more or less the same instance, you don't really have much control over the sequence in which they are processed. That's correct. The other thing is, any single job that you have here and all the options that we talked about, all the options you can see in the properties dialog, can be output to a so-called job file. I actually did create one already, or I can recreate it. Doesn't matter. Here, sorry for the German system messages, and let me dig down to it. I think it's here. And if I open up in the text editor, you basically see that it's plain text. It always has some key assigned to it and then some value, and each of these lines correspond to one of the options that you can set for a job. There's basically about 100 of them, and we do have a document where every single one is explained in what it means and what it is good for. And once you have such files, you can switch the PDF compressor here in this so-called jobless processing mode. And that, again, turns on some kind of hot folder mechanism. But in that case, from the hot folder, such job descriptions are read. And then the jobs are processed as specified in these description files. And in our experience, it is very straightforward for any kind of other framework or software to create such files from templates and then pass them on to PDF Compressor. I mean, basically, you directly have, for example, an entry here for the input file, and you have another entry for the output file, and maybe that's already enough for your software to alter these two values and then pass those files on to PDF Compressor. There are quite a few more things about how priorities can be set for those files, how synchronization between different machines works. That would maybe even be enough for quite another webinar, but let's just stick it to that. There is this kind of job list mode which is very suitable for automating PDF Compressor through other applications.
Okay, yeah, maybe we do another webinar on that topics one day. Okay, I think we reached this 1 hour limit that we should not exceed, and there is probably only redundant questions now going around the same topics. If there's anything that is not answered, we do it after the webinar in writing, as I said. I mean, would you call up the last slide with the contact information once more? You might use that contact information to get in touch with us, get your demo version, whatever you like. Talk to us about your use case. We encourage you to really work with us. We're here to help you forward in your projects, in your tasks that you have, and say thank you very much for today, and please kindly be so kind to fill in our questionnaire after leaving our webinar. Thanks for today. Bye.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks from me too. Have a great day. Bye.